In a quiet American town, where dreams often feel out of reach, a humble mechanic crosses paths with a powerful family whose daughter has lost her ability to walk. What begins as a chance meeting in a workshop slowly transforms into a story of hope, resilience, and unexpected bonds. With every turn of a wrench and every spark of determination, lives begin to change forever. This is not just about fixing a machine, it's about rebuilding faith, courage, and love. Let's get started. Ethan lived a quiet life in a small town outside Chicago, his world revolving around the smell of oil, the hum of engines, and the clang of tools in his workshop. At 32, he wasn't rich, but he was respected for his honesty and the way he always helped neighbors in need. People knew that even if you couldn't pay, Ethan would still fix your car and say, "Just bring me something next time." His workshop was his sanctuary, filled with old calendars, dusty tool racks, and a radio that played country music late into the night. One evening, as the sun set low, a black luxury car pulled up outside his workshop, shining in stark contrast to the worn-down brick building. From the driver's seat, a chauffeur stepped out. Opening the back door with a practiced hand, Mrs. Whitmore emerged, a striking woman in her early 40s with elegance in her every move, though her eyes carried a shadow of worry. In the back seat sat Claire, her 20-year-old daughter dressed in soft pastels, her blonde hair tied in a neat ponytail. She was beautiful, but her wheelchair told the rest of the story. Claire had been in the chair for 3 years after an accident that shattered her spine. Specialists in Chicago, New York, even Europe had tried everything, but the results were always the same. The once vibrant girl had grown quiet, her smiles rare and fleeting. Mrs. Whitmore, despite her wealth and power, had reached the painful acceptance that her daughter might never walk again. That night, they had only stopped because the car made a strange grinding noise, and the chauffeur insisted on finding help before it broke down completely. Ethan greeted them with his usual warmth, wiping his hands on a rag as he offered to check the car. He noticed Claire immediately, but unlike most people, his gaze didn't linger with pity. Instead, he crouched by her chair as he worked, asking simple questions, making a light joke about the car being too fancy for small-town roads. For the first time in months, Claire laughed softly, her voice like a spark. Mrs. Whitmore froze, stunned. She hadn't seen that kind of reaction from her daughter in years. When Ethan finished, he gave a small bow and said, "She's all good now." But before they left, he looked Claire straight in the eye and said gently, "You know, maybe you're not broken. Maybe people just haven't tried the right way yet." His words were simple, but they sank into her heart like a seed. Mrs. Whitmore frowned at his boldness, yet deep inside she felt something shift. Claire remained silent, but her lips curved into the faintest smile as the car drove away into the twilight. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay awake on his old cot in the back of the workshop, staring at the ceiling as her smile replayed in his mind. He thought of all the wasted parts stacked in his shop, motors, gears, steel frames, and suddenly he began sketching. What if he could build something? Not a regular wheelchair, but something new, something that could give her a chance to stand, maybe even walk again. The idea consumed him, and for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt like he wasn't just fixing machines anymore. He was chasing hope. The following week, Mrs. Whitmore returned, this time on purpose. She had been unable to shake off Ethan's words, and though she told herself it was foolish, something about his sincerity stayed with her. Claire looked reluctant when they entered the workshop, her hands gripping the arms of her wheelchair tightly. Ethan greeted them warmly, as if they were old friends, and showed them a corner of his workshop where he had started piecing together a metallic frame from scraps. "It's just an idea," he said, "but maybe it could help." Claire stared, uncertain. But curiosity flickered in her eyes. Ethan began explaining how the frame could support her weight, powered by lightweight motors and gears he had been testing. Mrs. Whitmore listened with polite skepticism. She had seen doctors worth millions fail. Yet Ethan's passion was undeniable. His voice carried no arrogance, only genuine hope. Claire surprised herself when she leaned forward slightly, asking questions about how the motors would move. For the first time in years, she felt like part of something instead of just a patient. Ethan noticed the light returning to her eyes, and his heart beat faster, though he hid it well. Days turned into weeks as Ethan worked tirelessly, often late into the night. Claire and her mother visited frequently, the workshop slowly becoming less of a mechanic's greasy den and more of a place filled with quiet laughter and cautious optimism. Ethan would let Claire hold tools, guide her hands as she helped him tighten bolts, and she began smiling more with each visit. Mrs. Whitmore watched silently, her doubts giving way to gratitude. She saw her daughter opening up again, not just to the possibility of walking, but to life itself. It was something money had never bought. The breakthrough came on a crisp Saturday morning. Ethan had finished assembling the final prototype, a sleek, metallic frame that looked like a blend of engineering and determination. He rolled it gently toward Claire's wheelchair. The room went quiet, the only sound the hum of the lights above. "You don't have to," Ethan whispered, sensing her fear. Claire's hands trembled, but she nodded. With Ethan's strong arms guiding her and her mother's hands gripping her shoulders, she slowly shifted from the wheelchair into the frame. The silence deepened as she took a shaky breath, then tried to straighten her legs. For the first time in years, Claire stood. Her body wobbled violently, her knees shaking as if they might collapse at any second. But Ethan steadied her with one arm while adjusting the frame with the other. Mrs. Whitmore gasped, her hands covering her mouth as tears streamed freely. Claire looked at Ethan, her eyes wide with disbelief, then down at her own trembling legs. The room was filled with raw emotion, a blend of fear, joy, and the fragile beauty of hope finally reborn. A single tear rolled down Claire's cheek, followed by a laugh that broke into sobs. News spread quickly in the small town. Neighbors peeked through the garage doors, stunned to see the billionaire's daughter walking, even if shakily, with Ethan's invention. Someone recorded a video on their phone, and within days, it went viral. Across the country, people watched in awe as a small-town mechanic gave a young woman her life back. Ethan never sought fame, but his workshop became a beacon of hope. Claire's journey wasn't over, but she was no longer trapped. With Ethan and her mother by her side, she had found strength, love, and a future brighter than she ever imagined.